You know, most of us think of retirement as this single big finish line that we cross. But that's not really the whole picture, is it? The reality is, it's much more like a journey, one that has some very distinct and, well, predictable stages. So what if we could actually map out that journey? Okay, let's dive in and explore a plan for a future that's not just about living longer, but about living well and feeling secure.
So here's a simple but really powerful way to think about your later years. It's broken down into 3 stages. First up, you've got the go-go years. This is when you're active, you're traveling, you're full of energy. Then, things naturally start to decelerate a bit in the slow-go phase. And finally, there's the no-go stage, and that's when you're probably going to need more significant care. Now, each one of these stages, it brings its own unique challenges and, you guessed it, requires a totally different game plan.
So what are these big challenges we keep talking about? Well, they really boil down to 3 core issues that pretty much everyone is going to face: money, your physical health, and community, or the lack of it. Let's unpack each one, because really understanding the problem is the absolute first step to solving it. Okay, let's start with the financial reality. And I want you to just take a look at this number. $130,000. That's not a typo. That's the median cost for a private nursing home room for just 1 year. A number like that can just obliterate a lifetime of savings in a flash. It really shows you just how critical having a real long-term plan is.
Next up, the physical challenge. This data on unintentional falls, it puts the risk into really sharp perspective. Just look at how that rate climbs steadily once you hit 75. But then, look what happens for those 85 and older. It just spikes dramatically. This makes the reality of our increasing physical vulnerability absolutely crystal clear. And the third challenge is loneliness. And this isn't just about feeling a little sad, it's a genuine health crisis. This quote here is just shocking. It calls loneliness the biggest disease in the USA and says its health impact is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I mean, wow. That single comparison, it reframes everything, doesn't it? It means we have to plan for our social health just as seriously as we plan for our finances.
So you're looking at these 3 huge challenges: financial, physical, and social. You might be wondering, what's the solution? Well, there's a concept out there designed to tackle all 3 of them at once: the Continuing Care Retirement Community, or as it's known, a CCRC.
Now, you might be thinking, oh, isn't this just another one of those 55-plus communities? Not exactly. And this is the key difference. An active adult community. That's for an independent lifestyle, but it usually doesn't have on-site medical care. A CCRC, on the other hand, is built from the ground up for aging in place. It provides the full spectrum of care, from living on your own to assisted living to skilled nursing, all on one campus.
Okay, so a CCRC sounds pretty promising, but how on earth do you choose the right one? This is a massive decision. So let's walk through a really practical checklist with the key questions you absolutely have to ask before you even think about making a commitment.
First up, let's talk about the financial health of the community itself. You'll want to look for what's called a Type A contract, because that's what helps lock in your future care costs and protect you from inflation. You should also check their credit rating. Aim for an A or higher. And then ask the common sense questions. Is the community actually growing? Are they reinvesting in the property? And hey, don't forget to ask about the food. That's important.
And here is one of the single most important numbers you need to look for. When you visit, ask them for the occupancy level of their active inventory. If that number is below 88%, consider that a big red flag. It could signal financial trouble, or it might just mean that the community isn't as desirable as they say. It's a simple number, but it tells a really big story.
Look, financial stability is absolutely non-negotiable, but it's only half the story. At the end of the day, this is a place you might call home for decades. So what about the actual, day-to-day experience? What's the quality of care really like?
So this brings us to the lifestyle checklist. You're going to want to ask about staffing ratios. And here's a huge one. Do the residents have a real say in things? You should look for a resident council that has actual voting rights on the board. And of course, check if the amenities and activities match your interests. And finally, look for transparency.
A healthy community isn't afraid to hold regular meetings about its finances and how things are run.
But after exploring all of these benefits and going through the checklists, it's really crucial to stop and acknowledge something important. A CCRC is not the right choice for everyone. It's so important to be honest with yourself about whether this model fits your finances and, maybe just as importantly, your personality.
So who might this not be for? Well, if you're still young and healthy, it might just be too soon. The large entry fee is, of course, a clear financial barrier for a lot of people. But it's also about mindset. If you just can't imagine leaving the home you've been in for decades, or if you're not really willing to put yourself out there and build a whole new social circle, then a model that's built entirely around community probably isn't the right fit for you.
After all the checklists, after all the considerations, the final piece of advice is maybe the most powerful of all. Focus on the numero uno, yourself. Now, this isn't about being selfish, not at all. It's about recognizing that taking control of your own future is the greatest gift you can possibly give to your loved ones. It's the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're going to be cared for. So the final question to leave you with is this: what's one step you can take, starting today, to focus on numero uno?